I'm able to get a better sounding drop quicker with less lanes that sounds fuller from this is kind of the main point. Are you a producer that opens the DAW to a blank template and has all this creative energy and is ready to write a drop just to open the project and be kind of intimidated, anxious, and all that to write a drop because you have nothing there? You got to build your drums, you got to build your rides, your hi-hats, your sub, everything just to get to your basses. Not only that, but are you a producer that writes absolutely banger first two drops and then you go to start a new project with that same energy and you want to write a great one, but it's just not that good? You're having troubles consistently writing good drops? Or are you a producer that just wants to be more proficient at sound designing, drop flow, and drop writing in general? Then this video is going to be for you. And today I want to talk about what I'm going to coin the term drop batching and why you guys should be using it and how it's going to make you level up as a producer probably 5 to 10 fold easily. First, before we get into the video, most of you guys that watch my videos are actually unsubscribed, so you guys should definitely subscribe because I'm dropping tons of tutorials and tons of videos like this that are going to help you in your production in the future. Along with that, make sure you watch the video all the way through. I'm going to try to put some timestamps down below, but I'm going to be giving tips throughout the whole video as they come up naturally. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons and everything that I think comes with this theory that I'm going to call drop batching. So enjoy the video, comment any questions you have down below, and let's get into it. So first we're going to go into Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, and we're going to talk about what is batching. And we're going to be using the term pretty much the quantity produced at one operation or one time. A quantity of persons of thing considered as a group as well fit this. And what we're going to be doing it as is a verb, which is to bring together or process as a batch, which means we're going to make our drop in one setting. And there's some rules that come with this, but this is the main focus, is that we're going to be making all these drops in one setting. And this isn't just for one track, where you're probably like, yeah, I probably write my 3 drops and then write my track around that. This is more than that. This is going to be for potentially multiple songs. That's where we're going with the definition. And I want to show you this really terrible drawing, which I'm sorry, I'm a terrible drawer, but this is going to explain it even further. And this is going to be the theory. So follow me through here. I'm sorry, I'm not right-handed, and obviously with my mouse, I have to use my right hand to draw this. So here's the theory. Drop 1 took me roughly 8 hours to do with my sound design and just putting the drop together. Took the most amount of time because I started from 0. Now this is my first 2 batches of drop. So each drop I count as 2 drops. So from here, it took 8 hours to write these 2 drops. From there, the second batch took me roughly half the time. These are rough estimations. Took me half the time because I'm reusing my drums and I'm changing my basses and effects. But I'm not just starting from scratch. I'm taking my basses from my first drop and repurposing them. So depending on how your level of sound design and or resampling, this can go quicker or slower. But what this allows is for cohesion, even though they're completely different drop styles. From here, I'm going to take this and do it again. And my third drop rotation this time took roughly half the time again. Now I don't think I'm going to get probably below this time frame because I'm not a super insane fast writer, but that's okay. And we just keep reusing the drums, and you can change them out later. A kick, clap, kick, snare, it's really not that hard to change out. And from here, we're also just building up our basses. So as you can see, drums stay the same, basses and effects change. Now you can see the color code here because I wanted to show another thing that I think is really unique about this is that your drop 1's obviously going to be all of itself, but drop 2, you're going to have your new stuff that you changed over, which I'm going to say is it unique to that drop, but you're still going to reuse or maybe resample stuff from your first drop, which gives you this kind of little tad bit of blue. And by drop 3, I've already had, once again, my new basses and all that stuff. But now I'm resampling from drop 2 and drop 1, and the system I use allows me to resample very quickly or get what I need out of my drops very quickly, which is what I want to show you guys next, which is the actual in-house organization. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but like how I organize my project. So let's dive into Ableton now. So we're in Ableton now, and we've now discussed what I'm classifying as batch writing. And now we kind of understand exactly the process of how your drops feed into each other. But now I want to actually show you this. So step 1 for this writing process, you have to use one project. And why? Well, because one project forces you and easily allows you to use old assets. I, as you can see over here, have my own sample pack, tons of additions, new additions, even other stuff. I rarely reuse my sounds as often as I should because I want to create so many new ones. This forces me, not forces me, but allows me to use my old resources very quickly instead of diving through a sample pack. What did I name that bass? What is that? What was that serum patch? Like, I can literally just reference it here. So for example, these are my first two drop. This would be drop one batch, the 8-hour batch, right? Where most of my time was sound designing. This is where I was creating from zero. So I had a sound design, I had to create the drops and all that as well. So let's break down. Drums, look at this. Drum. They're all the same. Remember, reuse your drums. Once you get a good loop you're really happy with, reuse it. You can go back and change it later, but we're just trying to get a drop flow down. Once again, we're changing our basses and effects to the drop style. So next, after you're using a project, what do you need to do? Well, first you need to set up a drum loop you're happy with through and through. You can do that 4 bars at a time as you're building your drop, but just make sure it's solidified before you move on to the next drop, because that's going to be your core. Next, basses. Where did I spend most of my bass time? Now, I'm going to show you exactly how I lay out my basses because I think it's crucial for how you balance stuff and like for your workflow. And I'm really just a fan of how I have stuff routed. So let me show you real quick. My drop sense, my basses, whatever you want to call your drop group, is broken up into 2 categories. No low, which just means no low end, because I have a dedicated sub, which is all low end. And subgroup and no low go into my drop sense, and they are clipped together. That's really all that happens there. I'm not going to really go through the whole routing process. I'm just going to show you briefly how it works. But let's go into the main part, and that's sound design. So the second main thing about this process is you need to have patches created. And what I'm going to say is 5 to 7 patches to start out with, and you can grow from there. But 5 main ones. So I made a couple for Dubstep. Obviously, you want like rhythmic, chug, quarter note basses. Those are all close, but different enough to where I was like, okay, I like that. Next, I made some sustains. I had enough of those sounds where I was like, okay. And I literally called it sound design, and that's usually turned off. And that was the basis to build my drops together. Now from there, I want to show you something that I think is essential. Now I'm dividing my stuff into 3 subgroups, and I'll explain why. First, group processing for certain elements. Chugs seem to always be processed the same way at group level, not individual, obviously. Filler basses, which is just my non-chug, my non-front and main basses, which I'll even let you hear what they sound like. So not my typical, like there's some backing chugs in there, but it's not my front ones, which sounds like this. So fillers, chugs, and then sustains, which obviously are your legato long notes. And I do this way because I can bounce these at any time and use them to my advantage. And let me explain. After I get done writing this, now I have 3 categories I can bounce real quick. Deleted that in this project, but for example, this one had sustains of the second drop, so this just took the sustain group. And say this was the full drop. It's not, but for some reason, let's say this was like the full drop. Let me consolidate real quick, and through the power of editing, we now have a consolidated clip. So the cool thing about this and audio is you can find it and you can name it whatever you want. For example, the chugs I just talked about in drop 1. I can literally click these, drag these over to my new drop, and resample it how I need to, or fill how I need to using the other one, which shows that kind of how we're splicing the identities together. Now, from there, we now have the same project we're working in, and now we have basses in which we're going to reuse. Now I take some of the main basses I really like from here and change them. Another thing is the patch has to be easily manipulated, and which brings me to my next point. Now, in these categories, we're going to subcategorize everything. You have drop 1 and drop 2. As I make my third drop set, I'll make drop 3. So I'll drop 1, drop 2, drop 3. Same with the filler, same with sustains. They're actually all just in this category right now because I was just writing really quickly to see how fast I could write this drop, which was in 2 hours. The cool thing about this drop as well is not only because I write it faster, but if you look at the width so far, obviously it's not done and it's going to get expanded, it's going to get more lanes, but it's significantly smaller in space. Drop 1 took me 62 to 70. 11 lanes of audio to complete versus where drop 1, just the chugs alone, 51 to are 9. So that's a whole drop versus just a chug category for 2. And you can see there's many more layers that go into that. And many more layers are going to be needed for this, but I'm able to get a better sounding drop quicker with less lanes that sounds fuller from this is kind of the main point. Once again, the patch needs to be easily manipulated, so I'll show you real quick. One thing I like to do in my patches is have something easily replicable. You can see I'm automating like all different types of things, LFO rate, octave, which can turn the tables up, pitch mod, which just deals with the bend in this, and then FM obviously to kind of adjust. Now I can play with filters. I can adjust obviously my LFOs, which are having different effects, which mainly the 2 is having this page, 3 is affecting this page, or 1 is my FM and 4 is my pitch bend for this. And I can easily keep playing with this, putting in new tables, etc, and keep running with it. But it's easily changeable. And that's what you kind of need at a foundation level to replicate this. So, talking a lot. There's a lot to get out of this. Let me tell you what I think the pros are from this. 1, if you're getting in a project you're already using, you're going to use your sounds, which is going to make you have a cohesive sounding drops, and it's going to help you cohesively have familiar drop flows even though they're different. 2, it's going to probably help you get past your drop start producer anxiety, which is opening up to a blank project, like I stated at the beginning, when you have to build all this stuff, and a lot of people just don't do well with it. I've asked a lot of other producers if they deal with it. I deal with it sometimes, and yeah, it can totally kill your creativity. 3, I think it's going to allow you to get used to writing quicker and really help you puzzle your own sounds into themselves, which what I mean is like taking this drop chug, resampling it, learn how to resample your own sounds and putting it back in and changing it to make it different. And it's all your own stuff. Obviously, you can use anyone's patches, you can use anyone's serum presets, you can resample any sound you want. There is nothing. It's that anyone that tells you you can't do that, they're not going anywhere with their career anyways. So it's fine to do that. This is just my own sounds personally, but like if you're using someone else's patch, just keep recreating, keep reusing it. Who cares? Have fun. So what are the drawbacks here in my mind? I can come to think of as 2 major drawbacks. 1, this is CPU intensive because you're writing so many drops in a project file. This isn't to create a song. You're going to save this stuff and you're going to maybe save different versions of it to write a song later. Let me explain. You have this first set of drops, right? So now we save the template. We'll save like dubstep drop template 1A. Now you got this one going. Well, once you have this one started and have all the materials you need from here, just delete this stuff and save this as like drop template 2A. Make it different. And then once again, 3A. And the second is if you're not good at disconnecting yourself from what you created before and you keep referencing this because you really like it, you could get a stagnant or very similar flow. So just make sure you're checking your flows. And if they need to be similar, like it's very stompy, like you're going for that loss line style, it's fine. Or like whatever style you want, that's fine as long as you're happy with it. But just make sure you're able to add the variety. So you're not just creating 3 the same drop. So when we release 3 tracks, it's like, I feel like I've heard this before. You want it to be like Company, Spaghetti, where you're like, oh, I know their style, I know their sounds, but this is different and new. That is really it. And that's all I wanted to cover today with this. I know I talked a ton, but I really think this theory is the future for how to write great stuff consistently. If you guys think of any negatives, anything negative, honestly, from this strategy, let me know in the comments below because I'm really interested. It's something I've recently started doing and I'm interested to keep going with it and maybe even update you guys. With that being said, one thing I want to leave you off with is that if you feel writing drops is hard, you're not alone. Look at all these other producers. I did a poll on my Instagram a few hours ago, and that's what they said. So the hardest thing is to write drops. So how to get past this is this video solution. And I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope this was educational. And if you have any questions about something maybe I didn't cover quick enough, let me know in the comments below. Love y'all. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, go stream day by day because the acoustic version will now be out by the time this drops. So yeah, peace.